Hey, welcome back, y'all.
Hey.
We are back. I'm Miss Lissha, as you can see down below. And this is the fabulous Miss Toni. She's my right hand, y'all, and most of the time she is absolutely my left.
Thank you, Lise. That was such a great interview we just had with Teresa. If you guys missed it, no worries, as Lise says. Just hit up our archives. Check out our Facebook Live page. Our Let's Chat page. I'm all discombobulated. Just go to YouTube, search for Let's Chat.
Y'all, we have had a fun day so far. I'm excited. Now y'all know that we are also on Ebony TV. So y'all make sure y'all head over to ebny.tv to be able to check our replays. We'll also be able to advertise with us. If you would like to advertise your video or book trailer on Let's Chat Live, just send your request to the chat radio show at gmail.com. That platform has been very great to us. 5,000 views. We appreciate you guys for tuning in and supporting us. We have our first fabulous guest in the chat room. Hey Andrew, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
We are good. Thanks for joining us this evening.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me.
You are so very welcome. Now, for all of those that don't know, now listen, I met Andrew last year at a book event. And y'all, when I say he's dope in real life, he does more than just write books. Like, you name it, he does it. But he writes a special genre that can carry over, I think, to any age group because of the type of pen that he has. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your literary journey.
So, I'm originally from Long Island. Grew up there until I was about 20 years old, and then I decided to go away to college. I went up to SUNY New Paltz for my second half of college, I should say. I did my first 2 years in locally, and then I did the others up in New Paltz. And that's when I really started to look into doing writing. I had an idea for my first book during that time, and it was more of like a thriller than anything, and it was to do more of a government conspiracy novel. And it started to just kind of steamroll from there. It was only supposed to be one book at the time, and up deciding to change the ending to roll it into a series. And then from there, I loved reading at the time, and I was a big Edgar Allan Poe fan, and I was a big James Patterson fan, and I loved reading Patterson's mystery novels. So I decided I wanted to write a detective novel, and I decided to make the protagonist this really hot, like bad, you know, amazingly like won't take any kind of nonsense woman as the main character, and I wanted her to stand out and really go on like this huge life-altering journey as you see her as a cop and then her personal life at the same time. And that's been one of my biggest books was The Campus Killer, which is the first book of the Detective Ryan series.
Now, what was your intent behind creating such a strong female character, or the desire to have a strong female character in your books, being a male author?
Yeah, and it's actually kind of weird. I actually do write better from a female perspective in my books than the guys. But it's I wanted to have someone that was really just a very strong-willed person. She had to be successful and driven and everything in a man's world, at the time. And most of the books that I read that were, mystery novels were all male detectives. And I'm like, that shouldn't be. I really wanted to see more of like a female detective, and not just one that, oh, she falls into trouble and she needs her male save her. I wanted her to be strong-willed one who solves the cases. She's the one who goes out there and does her thing and takes down all the bad guys, and really shows that like it doesn't matter male or female. Like you can definitely just you are who you are, and you deserve that right to always show it.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. And Andrew, I'm not gonna hold it against you. New Paltz was our rival. My son went to Plattsburgh, so I'm not gonna. That's a whole other show. So you guys were always our rival. You know where I'm coming from with that. But I just want to. I just want to ask you, writing as a man and with the woman in mind, where did you draw that inspiration? Where did you look for to have a true voice of a woman? Did you draw from someone? Did you do research? How did you make that voice of a woman strong coming from a man?
It's kind of weird. It's just when I grew up, I had a
Mm-hmm.
lot more female friends than guy friends.
Mm-hmm.
So all throughout high school, I really got to know like women and the way that they kind of think and and they behave, and it helped to kind of help my writing and understand them. I was the guy that they all ran to with like their
Mm-hmm.
problems, especially when it came to like guy problems. They ran to me. Um, I was
Inside.
always like the quote unquote, like I was the guy in the friend zone. Yeah.
Right.
So and I was okay with that. It didn't really phase me one way.
Uh-huh.
But then when I was in college, I still had girlfriends than guy friends, and
Mm-hmm.
one in particular, she was actually like very like strong-willed, and the initiality and some of the physical characteristics based off of her,
Mm-hmm.
just because like she was a person in my life that like at the time she was just like, dude, like get your stuff together, like this, and she would tell you exactly how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was like, that's awesome. That's like a person that I like to hang out with. And I wanted to really showcase that kind of personality in a cop to
Mm-hmm.
really just be like, knock it out of the park with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we gonna go back because I'm gonna act like we not gonna act like you didn't say what you just said about the friend zone. So let's rewind. Now, what?
You got my girl speeches over there.
So, and I understand how that is, because a lot of times as females we do place men in the friend zone, and sometimes y'all don't even know y'all in there. Y'all might just look
Mm-hmm.
up one day and it's like, oh, wait a minute, how did I get here? Talk a little bit about that, Andrew,
Yep.
from a male's point of view on not only how it makes you guys feel, but how is the best way for guys to go about avoiding the friend zone, um, with females or women that they want to be in a relationship with. He smelled like I don't
So I can
know.
kind of answer some of that.
Where's Miss Hess?
So, I
Miss
mean,
Hess.
here's
Tell
the
Miss
thing.
Hess.
When it so it would come, it's a kind of different perspective on things. For me, I I wasn't the typical guy. Like I wasn't huge into sports, cars. So for me, I loved TV and movies, and that was how I connected with a lot of people, whether it
Mm-hmm.
was guys or girls. And I just always had like a good understanding of the way people behave and give good advice when it comes to different situations.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just always talk and be friendly with people. And there were times where it backfired because I'm not going to lie, there were definitely times in my past where I liked a girl and, we were good friends and I was in the friend zone. And I was just like, man, I'm like, this sucks. Like, when is she gonna just like for me and be like, every every single time they would be like, I wish I could get a guy like you, and I'm like, hello, you know,
I'm here.
um,
Andrew said hello.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
guy right here.
That's
Like
funny you say that, Jay.
like I'm not
Andrew.
even gonna, I'm not gonna lie, like it was,
Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, like no, not for nothing, like
We losing you a little bit.
I think we lost him, Leash.
Oh, he's froze. He'll be back. I mean, but that is so true. Shout out to James Rodman. I mean, he's a man. He like, listen, he put it out there. I fear being put in a friend zone. I mean, ladies, we do it, but we don't let them know. And the funniest thing about it, I think, is when you get married.
with full like, years. Like I would say, like we were close for like the entire time. Like you know,
Maybe he can call back in, Leash, because I would love to hear what he's saying.
Yeah, Andrew, we can't
she's
hear
like,
you. You froze a little
oh,
bit. We want you to log out and log back in.
you know, you're
Uh, You got
such a
some
great
people that's in
guy,
there
blah blah
with you.
blah. And we would hang out constantly, and then like it would be you. And she was like, "No, I had no idea." I'm like, "Ball."
Oh,
Oh, can you hear me?
we missed what he was saying.
We didn't hear anything you said. We want you to log out, log back in.
Can you hear me?
It's raining here in Georgia, so everything is a little wonky, a little bit,
Okay.
because it is storming here. But I mean, shout out to James Rodman, because he's like, listen, I ain't even go, once you get there, put there, just walk away. But this is the thing, James, this is the thing. When we are with our boyfriends or our husbands, that needs to be our best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, that's your best friend.
Right.
Like like you my best friend. If I'm dying, you dying too.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm
Mm-hmm.
drinking Kool-Aid, you drinking Kool-Aid. We both talking about them. So we want those things. I don't think, again, I can't wait for Andrew to come back in and just kind of talk about this, because is there a way around the friend zone, James? What do you?
Good question.
I know, yeah, because James says it's torture. Is there a way to avoid the torture? Is there a way to avoid the friend zone by maybe speaking up? Because this is the thing, most of the time, women like you to be able to take the initiative and step forward. So if you're going to see yourself in the friend zone before she even realized that's what it is. And so you have to basically step forward in order to avoid it.
But I wonder what James means. I wonder what James means by torture. Is it torture that he likes the girl, but she doesn't see what's in front of him? I mean, what part of the zone is torture? Being around all these girls, or you have your eye
Wait a
on a particular
minute.
girl?
He said
Women out
it's
on
only
you.
best friends in a woman's mind. Men play along. See, James, that's how you get put in the friend zone. Don't play along, because really, we want a best friend. Like you want your man to be a best friend, because that's just what it is. If you ask some women, what do you like about a man? I will understand. Most men are physical. They're physical. Everything is visual to them. So they're like, I want her to say I'm fine. No, you want her to say you're smart. You want her to say, you want her to enjoy the qualities that are actually you, opposed to those things that change periodically here and there. We got Andrew back.
Oh, much better, Andrew.
There we go. Sorry, I had to switch to my phone.
It's that new pulse thing. We're gonna upload that.
It must be a New Paltz thing, but now I'm a Georgia thing. So
What we were talking about, because one of the listeners had talked about being in the friend zone, and he said that when you like her and you're in the friend zone, that's what the torture is. Is there a way to avoid the friend zone by stepping up beforehand, because you're going to realize you're in it before we realize we put you there?
yeah, I mean, the thing is that, I kind of feel like it's one of those situations where you have to, be a little bit more like forward about your intention. Like you need to definitely step up and just be like, look, this is how I feel. You know, if you don't say that and you don't make it known to them, like I was trying to say, but I guess the feed was cutting out. I had a friend that I was good friends with for years. I mean, like I would say about 7 years, and we hung out all the time. And she would always tell me how much of a great guy I was. And then like it was years later on, I wound up talking to her, and I was like, I liked you, right? And she's just like, no, I had no idea. And in my head, and I'm like, that's BS. I'm like, because you knew that I liked you. Like, I know that you knew. Everyone knew that I liked you. And it was one of those situations where it's just like, if I might have said something and actually been like, hey, you know what? I'm really liking you, and I want to, see where this can go. I want something more than just a friendship. Maybe something would have happened, but hindsight's 2020.
Well, just look at it like this. It didn't happen because then if it did, you wouldn't have met Miss Hess, and then you wouldn't have had the gorgeous baby. So that's okay that you dissed our boy. It's all right because he leveled up.
Yeah, and it is, and that's one of the things that I wind up saying when it comes to my life is that everything happens for a reason, and if something back then changed, everything now would be different. I originally stayed home for the first 2 years and went to SUNY Farmingdale to get my associate's degree. And I had gotten into several colleges out of state. One of them being Johnson and Wales. I wanted to go for restaurant management.
Me too. Were you in DECA?
I had been accepted and I wanted to go. But everyone kept on telling me, they're like, oh, that's a really hard field to go into. And, restaurants are a dime a dozen and all this. And everyone talked me out of going. And I every single time I'm like, I love to cook. This would have been a great opportunity for me. But it's just like, had I done that, I would never have gone to New Paltz. And had I never gone to New Paltz, I wouldn't have been writing. And had all that happened, I would never have come back to Long Island, which is where I inevitably met my wife.
And I want to go back though, because we always talk about a goal moment, and a goal moment is when thought and execution come together. A lot of times we think about doing something and we literally talk ourselves out of it. Well, I don't have time. I can't do it right now. How am I gonna do that? I can't. We give ourselves excuses. And we're really mindful about how we speak to others and how we pour into others, and less mindful about how we speak and pour into ourselves. What was your go moment like when you decided to say, boom, I'm about to write this book and put it out?
Several. I would probably say about the 10th time I rewrote a story was that go moment. The very first novel I put out, not the first book, but the first novel I put out was Phoenix Blade Project Justice. And that was back in 2013. And I had already put out a couple of books of poetry because I really just wanted to get those out. And it wasn't really something I planned on really marketing and really pushing as much. It was just something that I wanted to kind of get myself out there a little bit and just put my own thoughts into the world, so I had something. But the first novel was the Phoenix Blade Project Justice, and this was the first book I ever came up with. This is the one I wrote when I was in college. It was the government conspiracy one, and I rewrote this thing. I literally lost for years. I lost half of the book because because my computer had completely crashed. And I had about half the book saved on a floppy disk. And then every computer I had did not have an A drive. I had to buy a portable A drive, put the disk in there, pulled up the whole thing, read what I had so far, hated everything I had on it, rewrote the thing for the very first time. And literally, I by saying 10 times, it's embellishing. It was probably about 5 times I rewrote this thing. And finally, I'm like, that's it. I'm done trying to rewrite this thing. I want it out there. This has been my dream, and I kept on trying to get it, picked up by agents and publishers and everything. And it wasn't getting a bite. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going out and I'm just doing it anyway, because this has been my dream. I want this book out there.
What were you not happy with in all those 10 times that you started, Andrew? Was it the plot, the characters, the flow? What was it you weren't happy with?
No, it wasn't any of that, really. It was just the very first time. It was just because I didn't like the way I wrote it. I kind of did everything straight first person, and it wasn't even really in the exact way that it came out. Like, the exact way was just more of like, hired mercenaries that are, doing the government's bidding. and there wasn't really like a good plot to it. But the very first time it was more on the plot, and I rewrote it, and I really designed this to be a very thought out idea, and more of a mystery, more suspense into it. I really wanted you to, really second guess who the guy, the benefactor, was in the whole situation, and I accomplished that in the initial rewrite. And then going back, it was just one of those things where I would be like, oh, I made this error in punctuation, so I'd go back to just go and just re-proofread and fix grammatical errors and everything, and I just start, oh, you know how I can make this sentence better, and I would rewrite the sentence, and then in like a few minutes the whole chapter is being rewritten, and just eventually the whole story got rewritten again, and it would just keep steamrolling like that every single time.
But if you think about it, that's the writing process, and just being a literary agent, I love the way you think, only because you can get denials, and it's just my personal opinion. If I get a denial for a client, I'm looking at like what are they denying it for? Okay, so I can tell when a reader is not engaged in a book, because you're focused on minor things. If there's minor punctuation in the book and you are entwined with it and you're really vibing with it, you're going to overlook those minor things. And especially if you're a publisher, you're like, oh, this book is good, it's got a few things that need to be fixed up, but hey, let's go with it. You know what I'm saying? But when that doesn't happen, I love the way you thought, like, listen, I don't have to wait for somebody to tell me I'm great. I can make it happen myself.
Yeah, that's how I felt with the whole thing. And that's it was the exact motivation and the thought process I had for that book. And then that's what just kept on happening. I was determined that I wanted more and more books out there. I had so many more ideas, and I'm like, if no one's going to pay me the attention to sign me to anything, I'm doing it myself.
I'm doing it myself. That's right. That's right.
But I have a question, Andrew, because I'm an editor. Now, during these times that you were rewriting, were you self-editing, or was your editor trying to pull something out of you because you saw something better that you could be doing?
No, in the beginning, I had no editor. I had no one even looking over everything. It was just me. It was just me kind of rereading everything, and I'd be like, oh, I found this mistake again. And that's what would, prompt me to go back over it. And I mean, and that's actually a book that I, even today, it was maybe the beginning of this year, I rewrote it again because I had extra content to make the story stronger. I realized I had formatting errors. It wasn't even like tailored to my current writing style. It was my writing style from 7 years ago. And I'm like, I'm so much of a stronger author now than I was back then. And I wanted that to really come through with the story, because that was the book that I looked at as, that's my baby.
That's right.
And I had stopped pushing it for a while, because I was like, oh, like there's so many mistakes on it. The formatting's all screwed up.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? There's a thing that you can do. You can either, you know what, I messed up, and just let it go, or you do something about it to fix it. And
that's right.
It was my baby. I wanted to fix it, and I did. And then I even redid the entire cover, because after all these years, I was like, I don't like the cover.
Really?
So I reshot the cover. I did the photography of it myself.
I was just about to say, not only does he write, he's a photographer, he's a graphic designer. Listen, he's dope in real life. Talk a little bit about that process between the writing and creating of the covers, because that's a whole different type of creative flow that you have to get into.
Yeah, so it started because I want to say the first 5 books I put out, and I'm including the books of poetry and that, I did not like the covers. I went with them because they were easy, and I was able to just kind of, get some version of what I wanted out there. But I wasn't happy with any of the first 5 books that I put out there with the covers. And I started to sit there and I was like, I see other authors and they use live models. And I said, maybe I can end up doing that. And I was looking into it, and it was like you had to pay the photographer, you had to pay the models. And I was like, man, this is going to be expensive for me to do that way. So it was one of those things, again, like you were saying, your go moment. For me, I was like, I can go, and I love taking pictures. I loved, going to concerts and sporting events and taking pictures. And, and even when I would go up to visit New Paltz, I liked to just take pictures of the area. And one of the things I wanted to do was just do that. So I started taking the pictures. And then I had a couple of friends that used to do modeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, great. I'm like, would you mind doing me a favor and kind of, posing for one of my books?
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, yeah, we'll do that for you. And I was like, all right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend Louisa was the first person that I had as my model, and she actually became, she's been on half of my covers. She's actually the one on the Detective Ryan series. She took over, she's the face of that book, essentially, that series. And the very first book we did together was Number One Fan.
Mm-hmm.
And she would also kind of help me direct of, what are you looking for with the cover? What are you looking for to capture with the teasers? And I would tell her, and she goes, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. And she would help me to learn the direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it then helped me later on when I had more and more of my friends that I incorporated into these cover photo shoots to direct them.
Interesting. But Andrew, with that being said, for those that may not be familiar with your pen and your writing, describe to our listening audience what Andrew writes about. What can we expect when we crack open a book by Andrew Hess?
Expect the unexpected. So a lot of my readers have dubbed me the king of cliffhangers. Okay. So a lot of my books have cliffhanger endings, but you always get like a complete story of that book, but you left with a cliffhanger to make you want that next one really badly. I love to do mystery and suspense. That's been kind of my go-to genre. That's the genre I've been in for the most part. But I do like some romance, suspense. I'm writing actually right now, just like a straight romance book. I am looking into doing kids and mid-grade books. I have stories that I'm looking to do that are going to be in the horror genre. So I'm very much an eclectic writer. I don't like to really be typecasted into just one genre, but I definitely, I do a lot of research into each one, read about how to really structure the books. So this way, when I do put out something, I want it to be the best quality I can put out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Andrew, throughout your process, I know you talked about how your pen has been stronger. How have you changed as an author from the very first book that you penned to now? How have you changed just mentally wise as an author and a man? Because there's growth in the writing.
Yeah. It's very different. Back when I first started writing, I literally pulled a lot of the character descriptions, their personalities from friendships that I had. And it was kind of more of just me getting my feelings out there on on certain situations or people or however it may be. And it became, through the years, it just became more of learning the art of a story, learning exactly where to build momentum, build the character development, how to escalate with the conflicts between them, how to incorporate comedy into the stories to make it a little bit more entertaining, where to put the suspense, where to speed it up, where to slow it down when it's needed, and even just right now with stories, I'm learning just to kind of how to really just get really into like a mindset of somebody, like deep down. Like the last book I went and I wrote and published, I really dug deep into like an emotional and mental anguish that the Detective Valley Ryan went through, and to try to pull out, and make people understand her emotions, her mentality throughout this whole story.
That's awesome.
Thank you. As a man, I feel like it makes me really see things from so many different perspectives, and not just be focused on one specific thing. Like if you're sitting there as a person and you can only think about your opinion and the way you want things, you're not doing yourself and anyone else around you justice. And I feel like if you expand your mind, you think from another person's perspective, and whether it's a male or female, it doesn't matter, anything. If you can put yourself into somebody else's shoes, you can learn a world of difference.
That's so true. And also what you're describing, Andrew, is that you have to learn your craft.
That's right.
In order for you to be successful, you have to make the effort of learning your craft. And this is what Lissha and I, we love doing what we do, because especially having guests on, like we have authors that are in the chat room and they're loving your we have James Robin, who's a new author. He says he's going to read your book because it sounds so interesting. People get to see you and they get to hear you. And that's why I asked you to describe your pen, so those that are listening can run out and one click your book. That's one of the things Lissha and I love doing, connecting readers to new authors. So we thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, you don't know. Well, you do know, because you've been on the chat room before. Here in the chat room, we like to do some fun with our guests. It's a little fun. I don't do any of that. I'm just here for commentary strictly. I don't know nothing about it. That's all T. I'm just here. But she's gonna ask you a fun question. Go ahead, T.
Okay. First of all, Andrew, thank you again. Like I said, I won't hold that new Paul thing against you. I'm Team Plattsburgh.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
But, we appreciate you. I just have a little fun question for you. Now, we have all these horses here on Long Island. Inside joke. But a cowboy gallops into town on Monday. He stays for 2 days and he leaves town on Monday. How can that be?
I know.
Come on.
Say that one more time.
Say it one more time. Okay.
Say it one more time.
A cowboy gallops into town on Monday. He stays for 2 days and then he leaves on Monday. How can that be?
Oh, I have no idea on that one.
Come on, Andrew.
And I'm usually kind of good at that. I usually have to kind of sit and visualize for a little bit, because I do a lot of those math things that are on Facebook. But that's one that I can't figure out.
Okay, you got to just your final answer. Come on. You can do it.
I wanted to say he stays the weekend. That's it.
Stays the weekend? Okay, final answer. I'm going to do I got to get something to do that with, Leash. The answer is his name is Monday.
Oh.
I'm just cracking myself up tonight.
You got me good on that. You got me good.
Right along with that, Andrew. You got to come back. We so enjoyed having you. This is your
love being here. I love being here, and I'll be more than happy to always join you guys.
We had so much fun with you. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
In spite of.
Oh, goodness. Tony's so petty.
When it comes to my son, the basketball player, he's all-American. That's why I just keep talking about that New Paltz and Plattsburgh thing.
Oh, trust me, I'm waiting for the day for my son to really get involved into sports. Right now, he's turning 4 in a few months, actually 2 months. And we tried getting him into soccer already, and he really didn't want anything to do with it. I'm like, all right.
Listen, can we
I'm
go
like, all right. I'm like, you don't like soccer?
Dad,
I'm okay with that. I'm like, let's get you into baseball, and eventually football. Because this kid, I'm like, I can tell you right now, he's built already for football. He's charged like from across the room, smacked right into me, and knocked me back a couple of inches. So I'm like, this kid is built for football.
Well, when you come back, we're going to know what team he signed up for in the NFL. How's about that?
Sounds good.
Thanks again.
Well, hopefully I'm hoping I'll be back before he signs up for the NFL.
Oh, way before. He's got a future.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You come back now.
I will.
Thanks, Andrew. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Oh my goodness, that was so great. All right, y'all. Thanks, y'all. We're gonna take a brief break. We will be right back. Before we start talking that talk with our next guest, we're gonna talk about the friend zone. Is it friend or foe? Shout out to James Rodman for this question. We'll see you guys.
Andrew for bringing it up. He done started something.
Yeah, a whole let's chat. So we're gonna chat about it. Give us about 2 shakes. We'll be back.
Bye.